I joined 18 Squadron operating the Wessex helicopter and based at RAF Acklington in April 1969, having completed my first tour on 78 Squadron, also operating the Wessex, at RAF Sharjah in the Trucial Oman States. Number 18 Squadron had moved from RAF Gütersloh in Germany to RAF Acklington as part of the Healy defence cuts in the 1960s. We retained a 2-aircraft standby role to respond to any incursion of the IGB, but given that our icing limits at that time prevented cloud penetration at temperatures below +10, our transit capability was restricted to day visual flight rules, although our flying limits were a generous 100 feet cloud base and half nautical mile visibility. Only fog would stop us. I remember flying the second aircraft, the lead being a sergeant pilot. Yes, we still had NCO pilots, having been scrambled from RAF Acklington to respond to an incident on the IGB, but only making Newcastle-Walsington airfield on the first day. A permanent 4-aircraft detachment was established at RAF Gütersloh utilizing a ROB hangar positioned close to the Lightning QRA shed. My first detachment was in July 1969, and we mounted field deployments in support of Army exercises. Living and operating in the field was at that time a relatively gracious affair, not least because we took with us our own cooks and stewards, but we were developing an off-base tactical posture and things would quickly become more austere. Our kit was adequate, less the standard-issue flying boots, which were not waterproof and not well suited to operating in wet grass and woodland. During a subsequent field deployment in September 1969, I was captured, volunteered by my commanding officer, and subjected to a field interrogation by trained interrogators. The experience lasted for a couple of days, and in that time included the continuous wearing of a black bag over the head secured at the neck, subsequently banned. It was very disorientating, and a welcome relief when removed and my hands untied at the end of the event. We regularly mounted flying patrols of the IGB, which was divided into 4 sectors in the British zone. The lead aircraft always had a member of the British Frontier Service in the left-hand seat. They had an intimate knowledge of the border, which was often difficult to identify and comprised coloured concrete posts, often some distance from the more well-known fence and watchtowers. We weaved in and out of fields, often shadowed by a Soviet helicopter on the other side of the fence. The game was to accelerate and then flare and turn, generally watching the Soviet flash past. My 8th sortie on the Wessex OCU in December 1967, after a total of 5 hours on type, had been solo engine-off landings. The idea was to set up at 1,000 feet over the piano keys on the runway, stop-cock both engines and carry out an auto-rotation and engine-off landing on the runway.